Hello everyone, my name is Nursanty from Indonesia. I'm happy to be able to participate in the AMS conference through this online presentation. My presentation is about synergistic correlation of Batik heritage and urban space authenticity in building up the city's competitive advantage with a case study of the city of Cirebon, Indonesia. I would like to thank to the Director General of Higher Learning, the Ministry of Education and Research, Republic of Indonesia, who supported me with a postdoctoral grant. I would also like to thank Prof. Indah Susilowati from Diponegoro University, Indonesia, my former supervisor, for her guidance. I will start by introducing my research methodology. Indonesia Batik has been listed as one of intangible cultural heritage of humanity by UNESCO in 2009. From the intangible side, I consider Batik from meaning, motive, and its sustainability from past to present. From the tangible side, I took Cirebon as the context of looking into the people, place, and its cultural heritage. Although Batik has been put in the UNESCO's representative list, but unfortunately it has not been able to generate positive impacts, both social and economic, toward the city and its communities. Therefore, I would argue the reposition Batik as a vehicle for social economic development. The city of Cirebon was established around the 15th century as a royal town with mixed cultural origins: Sundanese of West Java, Javanese of Central Java, and Islamic influence. In the late periods of its history, Chinese immigrants and Dutch peoples came and settled down in Cirebon during the colonial period from 18th century to the mid 20th century, when Indonesia gained independence in 1945. The tradition of batik making is found in various countries, but the batik of Indonesia is the most well known. Indonesian batik, made in the island of Java, has a long history of acculturation with diverse patterns influenced by a variety of cultures, and is the most developed in the term of pattern technique and the quality of workmanship. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown situation in Indonesia, the research could not be carried out on site, but instead the data was collected from big data, cloud, and social media. Qualitative research method employed the following steps. First, data collection, both static and dynamic. The second, data analysis by chronological transformation analysis, followed by the interpretation of correlation between people and place. Correlation between people and place is result in finding the DNA of a place that persists from its origin throughout the great towards the future. The place is examined by the physical, cultural, and ideological aspect from both rational and emotional angles. I developed this analytical framework from my doctoral research. The results is summarized in the automatically of place and its cultural production. Next, I will look further into the power of authenticity. Cirebon's main batik motif can be classified in five styles. The blue one uh, is called Mega Mendung, the royals motif. Then there are Buketan, uh, the colorful floral with a green background, and then pure. the pink red floral sprig, semarangan, and geometric. These last two patterns are particularly interesting because of the combined motif taken from other cultures or regions. All of these variations show the diversity of cultural representation in Cirebon Batik as a free expression of cosmopolitan material culture, but it makes it uniquely Cirebon. The diversity of batik motif in Cirebon is related to the diversity of the urban morphological fabric of the city. Uh, During the course of its long history, the initial historic core of the city has been formed by native, uh, this one, the native segment, the area N in red zone that consists of the three spirited palace, N1 for the Kasipuhan, N2 for Kanoman, and N3 for the Kachiriponan. This historical split happened during the 17th century. Later, the Chinese segment, the area C in the yellow zone, and the Dutch segment in the area D in blue zone were developed during the later stages of Cirebon historical timeline. From the cultural angle, the enrichment process from the original creation to the hybrid end products and the hybrid end product of the material culture in Cirebon is also related to these three community groups: native, Chinese, with Chinese, and the Dutch. This diversity of the urban, cultural, social, and geographical context has direct influence on the diversity of batik production from the past to the present, and it will be explained later in the full paper. Now let's move on to the discussion and conclusion. Cultural product is the embodiment of techniques, symbolism, and cultural, like what we understood from batik. Batik as a cultural product is not just functional, used from the cradle to grave for daily occasion to special celebration, but also symbolizing important values, beliefs, and hopes. We found out that cultural assimilation that is represented by diversity of batik in Cirebon is a result of the social and psychological convergence of people and place that produce identity and uniqueness. People like the royal families, the diverse urban communities, and the cosmopolitan cultures are the human catalyst, while places like urban morphology, historic neighborhoods, and cultural accommodation are the material production of the human catalyst. The convergence of aspiration, meaning, relevance, and materiality from past to present and toward the future can be summarized in the static Euler diagram. At the beginning, in the first stage, At the beginning, in the first stage, the uniqueness of a cultural community is created by the community. At the second stage, which is the present, it has gained recognition, promoted, and branded as representing the world's intangible cultural heritage. Now, Batik, with its inherent values and recognized branding, has the capacity to be developed further into a like brand that evolves beyond the commodity itself. It carries the authenticity, confidence, pride, and aspiration of the community. Brand enlightenment is the competitive advantage for the city and citizens who win the economic competition, among others, and on regional and global arena. By this, Batik may be able to become a vehicle for social economic development. Authenticity is the key of the prosperity. Thank you for the attention.
In the beginning, there was a dot. Then time passed. The dots evolved into an artwork of high sensibility, a piece of fine handiwork harmonizing patience with art. Batik comes from the word ambatik, which can mean a cloth with dots or spots. The making of such exotic spots is not as easy as waving a hand. The driving force is the patterns themselves. It is not just a matter of drawing lines, it is the breathing of life into patterns full of dynamism. Some of these patterns are age-old, others emerging of ancestral designs with new concepts growing out of more recent contemplation. Batik begins with a piece of cotton cloth. Onto this cloth are transferred exotic forms, detail by detail, curve by curve, with the greatest possible perfection. Then, with exceptional care, the motifs are copied in liquid wax using a pen-like instrument called chanting, covering the cloth from one end to the other. This chanting has a little basin made of copper with a little spout. Because of the smallness, close precision is needed in the waxing process. Which is carried out with care and a sharp eye to ensure that the wax will flow easily onto the cloth. The wax, which is called malam, comes in various forms depending on the stage of baticking under work. Among them are pine resin wax and beeswax. Amid the pungent odor and hot thick smoke of the wax, women transform the plain white cloth into a beautifully decorated textile. Dyeing means the coloring of those parts of the cloth that are not covered in wax. For this, the waxed cloth is immersed into a cold dye bath. The most frequently used colors are blue, red, brown, and yellow. So that the colored cloth will glow to perfection, it is put out in the sun to dry. This process of dyeing and drying is duplicated as many times as is needed to get the desired depth and shades of color. When the color is right, the cloth can be cleaned of its wax covering. This is done by immersing it in boiling water. The dyeing process is replicated over and over again to get the desired number of colors. The more color variation, the more times the waxing and dyeing are repeated. The batik emerges from the very long and demanding process, beautifully colored and wonderfully decorated. There is hand wax batik and there is stem wax batik. In stem wax batik, the graceful function of the batik pen or chanting is taken over by a printing stamp for a repetitive pattern. This naturally shortens the time it takes to make a batik cloth, but it also sacrifices the power in the hand-drawn wax lines. Life carries on. Day turns into night and night into day. Likewise, the amazing art of batik is being preserved through tradition. A museum has even been established to record the journey of this artistic skill. Opened by the President on July the 12th, 2006, the museum houses diverse types of batik from throughout the country, each with its matchless uniqueness. In the museum, visitors can see for themselves the batik process in the hands of a group of young Indonesians. In the beginning, there was a dot. Then time passed. The dots evolved into an artwork in the form of a decorated textile. Only those who possess great diligence and extreme patience will come to peace with time, creating a work of high artistic sensibility.